Hello, welcome to Circuit to the Abyss. I'm your host, Richard Gerlach. With me, as always, is Matt Brandenburg.
Hey, it's been like a month. I totally forgot how to talk, so this will be fun.
And hopefully remembering how to speak is Vitlame Mist.
Mersh? Merks? Merk? No, I still remember. Thank God for that.
I was thinking about that this morning. I'm like, how do I even say words right now? I mean, like I've talked to people.
Mouth movements, how do those work? Like what?
It's like I haven't been hidden anywhere. I just like podcast talk. I'm like, I don't know how to do any of this anymore.
Thankfully it just kind of comes easy afterwards.
Yeah.
Very true. Just laugh and make poop jokes. I can do that.
Yes. That's where Matt is the master.
That's where I excel.
That's where you live.
Just laughter and poop.
And today we're going to be discussing the story The Wishing Pool by Tananarive Do, which I think was a pretty fun story and a kind of a change of pace for this podcast.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. She did something really cool with this, which we can get into. And the whole idea of me not knowing how to talk had nothing to do with the fact that this has Alzheimer's in it. So like,
sure.
That was a connection I did not mean to make.
Sure, man, sure.
Again, it's been like forever. I forgot all my cool like connection jokes. So that was just
there's all our promotion with Alzheimer's research nonprofits, Matt. Thanks. Thanks.
It's a great way to start back up. That's how I do it.
But before we dive into the story, we'd like to do our little media recap, and it's been a bit, but I don't think this should take us too long because I think Vitlame is still in a Baldur's Gate mode.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think people are probably gonna shut down the podcast if I start ranting about it again. So yeah.
Announcing a new show, staring into Baldur's Gate.
Yep.
And so I've been also in a video game mode, but I'll talk about that briefly. But just a few things I will say. Are you guys watching this new season of True Detective?
Yes.
It is so good.
Did you know it was factually filmed in Iceland?
Was it?
Was it? Yes. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's what they took a couple of weeks there. Jodie Foster was here and everything.
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
They were in the north of Iceland in Húsavík, I think. I think so. Yeah, or in the south. Either way, it doesn't matter because it was full of snow, and you can't really distinguish from place to place when everything is covered in snow, and when there's and when there's darkness everywhere. But yeah, there are a whole bunch of Icelandic actors in it.
Oh, that's awesome!
That's awesome.
I did not know that.
I'm assuming you guys have seen this the scene where the woman crashes her car into a light post.
Yes.
She is actually a really great Icelandic actress, and she's actually a comedy actress most of the time.
Wait, are you watching it too, Vitlame?
I haven't. I've seen snippets.
Okay, so then.
But I saw. But they took it like there was an interview with Olivia. Her name is Olivia. There was an interview with her, and you can see the clip where it happened. And when it happened the first time, she actually got nosebleeds. But because of the impact from the thing on the steering wheel, I can't remember what it's called.
Airbag.
The airbag, yeah. And she actually got like a nosebleed from that, but she powered through and just kept going with the scene. And then afterwards, she was like, when the scene was done, she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Everything's bleeding. Did something go on you?" And she was talking to Jodie Foster, and Jodie Foster was like, "You are amazing." just looked at her like, "You are such an awesome actress." And she's like, "Oh my God, Jodie Foster said that to me."
That's amazing.
And they decided, because there was such a good addition, that she always, like, afterwards when they were doing more of those scenes, she had like fake blood coming through her nose.
Oh, that's great. That has to be the no offense to her, but the drunk woman, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, everything was filmed in. Yeah, I think everything was filmed in Iceland. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So I'm like, when people say like, "Do you love True Detectives in the new season?" I'm like, "Did you know it was actually filmed here? Like Jodie
So, like,
Foster was actually here, and she really
I'm
loved being here."
That's
I'm a
great.
huge Jodie Foster fan. Like, I really like Jodie Foster's work.
And she's awesome in this.
She's really good in this. Everyone's really good in this. Her partner
Yeah, go ahead.
is like an MMA fighter. And
Oh,
this
yeah.
is like her
Yeah,
acting.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is like her acting debut, and she's great.
Yeah.
Don't you find it funny how many fighters are actually really good actors?
It's because you gotta be a showman to be a good fighter too.
Yeah.
And well, I don't think McGregor is gonna be any good, but yeah, okay.
McGregor's not a good showman.
No.
McGregor's a good fighter. McGregor's just an ass.
Oh man, but yeah, no, I'm really digging the show. My only small complaint is some of the forced like drama between some of the characters. Most of the characters it makes fine, but the young partner to Jodie Foster's character and his I don't know wife.
Yeah.
That whole bit, I'm like, none of that drama is there just for the sake of drama, because she's literally training to be a nurse, and I don't understand what hours she thinks she is going to work as a nurse to be offended that the cop dealing with this massive murder situation is busy. I was like, all right, well, this is clearly just them trying to, the writers trying to make drama for the sake of it because it's stupid.
Yeah, it's like, you can't decide your own shifts when you're a nurse, so you can't complain.
It's like, get ready for 12-hour shifts, because
Right.
I know a lot of nurses, and those are the shifts they work.
Okay. I actually haven't, you may bash me for this, but I haven't finished the first season of True Detective.
We're not going to bash you. You just have to finish it. Especially when you jump into this season.
I mean, I don't know. His
Oh my God, Rich, are you laughing, or are you microphone going really crazy right now?
Yeah, I thought it was me at first.
No, you sound like a
microphone. I just unplugged it.
Okay.
Okay.
You sound like a chipmunk.
Yep, that was so weird.
Do I sound like a chipmunk?
No, now you sound fine.
You're fine.
I'm on my laptop mic now.
So weird.
I don't know. I think for me, like, Matthew McConaughey's character just really got on my nerves.
That's fair. Yeah.
In season,
he is pretty annoying.
Yeah, he was really annoying, and I was trying to enjoy Woody Harrelson because he was great.
Yeah.
But this, like, the spotlight was continuously on Matthew McConaughey, and I'm like, no, I can't. If it's just about him, I can't. No. Which is kind of sad, because there is actually another Icelandic actor in season 1.
There is?
Yeah, Ólafur Darri.
Oh,
he was a big guy they interrogated.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's Ólafur Darri. He's been really good at, showing up in American media these days.
That's really fun.
So yeah, I didn't see that episode either, but because of Matthew McConaughey, I was like, no.
The story to the first season's great. Like,
I know. I know.
Yes. The second season, a lot of people don't like, but I think is actually quite good on a rewatch.
Yeah,
I heard that people didn't like season 2.
I started it, and then I had a couple days where I couldn't watch it, and at the end of those couple days, I was like, do I want to keep watching it? I was like, I don't think so. So where the first season and this season are both like, oh, I need to finish it. But second,
Yeah.
like I might try to jump back in, but I don't know.
Try it again. It's more of a noir story than anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's what threw a lot of people off because, like, season 1 was a mystery masquerading as a paranormal weird fiction story.
As a Legati story.
As a Legati Laird Baron story that fucking they got sued from ripping off Conspiracy Against the Human Race.
Yes. Oh my god.
You know that's the reason why those Legati books got reprinted in Penguin, right?
Oh yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
That was because of the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Like, but season 3 I think is pretty good too. That's also kind of a paranormal or mystery masquerading as a paranormal mystery told in like 3 different timelines.
Nice.
But yeah, no, the season's really good. I'm really enjoying it. And I will say the effects for the corpsicle, top notch.
Yes, that was really cool. But
Top
yeah,
notch.
I'm liking it that it stands on its own. Like where I think you wouldn't need, and I know like 2 and 3, I don't have no tie to the first season, but I
This
do
one
like
does.
this one does, but not in such a degree, at least yet. Not in such a degree where you're like, oh, I need to know what happened in the first one to understand this one. It's just a lot of subtle stuff that makes sense more now.
It also opened with a King in Yellow quote.
Yes, which was cool. And just so I'm digging that, and I'm digging just this more cosmic entity, which they did a lot in the first season too, but this concept of something in there like hidden underneath. And so yeah, I'm totally on board. I'm digging it.
Also last week I saw Godzilla -1 color.
Nice.
What?
Yes. They re-released Godzilla -1 in black and white.
What?
Or as
they called it Godzilla
monochrome.
-1 color.
No. Guys, why do you have to complicate things?
They didn't though. They wanted to do it.
Yeah,
Why didn't you just say black and white? B&W.
Because it's cool to say minus, I don't know, twice.
No, it's cool for the Japanese to say it. Minus.
Minus
-1.
Minus. But honestly, seeing it in black and white gave it such a cool vibe that like I kind of liked it even more in black and white than I did in color.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I love that movie. That was like one of my favorite movies last year.
Yeah. No, I really wanted to see that. I think it's gone now in theaters, but I saw it, but I wanted to see this version of it too.
I don't even think they showed it here in Iceland.
Well, they did
honestly,
or they did?
It didn't. I don't think they did.
Huh.
That's unfortunate. It's really good. Like if you get the chance to watch Vitlame, definitely do. In black and white or in color, no matter what, it's a great watch.
Just bring your Kleenex.
I watched it with a friend who never saw it, and the black and white screening was her first screening, and they were like, "Oh, this is great."
Yeah.
Also not horror related, but I ended up seeing a movie before the year ended when we were on break, which isn't horror, isn't even genre related. It's like a comedy drama movie that became my favorite movie of last year, and now it's an Oscar contender. But I saw American Fiction.
Oh, I thought you meant Poor Things.
No, American Fiction.
Okay.
You guys should watch. You guys gotta watch American Fiction.
Yeah.
It is so good.
I've heard a lot, but I haven't seen anything.
it stars Jeffrey Wright, and he plays a disgruntled college professor and novelist.
Nice.
And in his writings, none of his books have sold off, and like he's not selling crazy numbers. And he wrote a book, he gave it to his agent, and his agent sent it to a publisher, and the publisher rejects it because they want black stories. And he's like, but I am black. This is a black story. And they're like, no, you know what they mean. And then he's at a book festival where the big book of the year is this book written by a black woman who's also a college professor, and it's called My Peoples, They Live in the Ghetto. And it's the talk of the town. Everyone loves it. And he starts reading it, and he's like, this is the most pandering shit I've ever seen in my life. Because it's one of those like stereotypical, like, growing up in the hood black stories that always get lots of media attention. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but I mean, like, the black experience is vivid in this country, but, like, those are the books that seem to get the most attention. And so he writes his own. And he gives a fake name on it and gives it to his agent as a joke. And it ends up, like, getting him $750,000 advance.
Jeez.
And becomes, like, the talk of the town. And, like, he creates this whole fake persona for the book. And so it's part of this whole thing is, like, a joke that goes way too far out of hand. And the other side of the movie is his family drama where he's dealing with his mother who has dementia, similar to the story.
Yeah.
And navigating relationships in his life as he balances this fake persona with his real life.
That sounds amazing. Excellent.
Besides that, I have been watching Cobra Kai, which is so much fun. Like, it's slop. I know it's slop, and I'm slopping it up. It's so good.
I have not watched it.
It honestly it's better than it has any right being, to be perfectly honest with you. Because, like, it sounds on paper, it sounds dumb. Like, on paper, the show sounds really stupid. It's like Johnny Lawrence from The Karate Kid grows up to be a maintenance man after his life went to shit after the karate tournament and reopens Cobra Kai dojo. And, like, it's really good drama, and they got, like, all the actors back from the original Karate Kid movies.
That's pretty awesome.
Reprise their roles.
Except for Miyagi.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't really revive a dead person, so.
Yeah.
Nice.
Necromancers don't exist right now. But there's so, like, the whole premise is, like, Danny LaRusso from The Karate Kid, he grew up, he has a successful branch of car dealerships, and his slogan is, we'll kick the competition. So kind of keeps on rubbing it in Johnny Lawrence's face. And he's just like, he ended up living his best life. Because he was a poor kid in the first movie. Now, he's a wealthy guy, owns some car dealerships. He's doing good for himself. And
fair.
And Ralph Macchio is back to play him.
Oh, that's nice.
And Johnny Lawrence is living in this, like, really shitty apartment, and he meets the neighbor kid, who he sees this kid get beat up by a bunch of, like, the rich Encino kids, and he reopens the Cobra Kai karate dojo to kind of teach this kid how to defend himself. And then it becomes this, like, kind of like sort of the Karate Kid, only, like, in reverse on the other side. But then it gets weird and complicated, but it's, like, it's really good.
Yeah, I think I finished the second season. I really liked it.
The second season has, like, the darkest ending.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, to end the second season the way they did was like, oh, that was cruel.
Mm-hmm.
That was mean to do it that way. But I will say the karate fight in the high school was pretty cool. That was a good fight. That was a really good fight scene.
I just like. I also love the like the next generation in this, like the next generation of karate fighters. There, I remember when I was watching it, I was like, it kind of relit my interest in doing karate again. I'm like, should I do karate again? Should I go back? And then I was like, nah, I'm more into kickboxing and just boxing, so maybe I'll just go back there.
Yeah, I mean, like it's funny because all the characters are interesting, and the drama isn't really forced in the way it is in a lot of other shows. It is a little bit sometimes. The fight scenes are cool. The characters are interesting. I'm in season 3 right now, so I still got a little bit to go.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not trying to hog the mic, so I'll pass it soon. But did I talk about Alan Wake 2 when we were doing the podcast?
You might have mentioned it. I don't remember.
I beat it a couple weeks ago. That game was fucking awesome. And Vitlame, you would like Alan Wake 2 once you're done with Baldur's Gate. But besides that, oh wait, what?
What? I was gonna say, what do you mean?
Because I know you're on your Baldur's Gate craze. What I'm saying is Alan Wake 2 is a really fun kind of like survival horror game that deals a lot with writing, actually.
Oh, okay.
Like the premise of Alan Wake is the first game came out back in 2008, and the character Alan Wake is famous for a series of novels that he wrote. And he's retired. He's kind of retiring to this Pacific Northwestern town to just like relax and take it easy, and gets caught up in a paranormal mystery that he ends up getting lost in an alternate reality. And in this game, he has to write himself out of that reality.
Interesting.
And everything he writes happens. Like this entity kind of survives off fiction, and every time people create art, the art they create manifests in reality.
Oh, I like that. That's pretty sweet.
So like in this game, it's 13 years later. Alan Wake's been missing for 13 years. And you play as an FBI agent named Saga Anderson, whose grandfather is actually Thor from Norse mythology.
Oh, okay.
And she goes to this town because an FBI agent showed up naked and got his heart ripped out in a cult ritual. And he'd been missing for 13 years. And that's when they realized Alan Wake has also been missing for 13 years. And on Saga's first day there, Alan Wake washes ashore from the bottom of a lake. And then you kind of switch perspectives between Saga Anderson trying to solve this like cult murder mystery of who is this cult and why are they committing these ritualistic murders. And then the other perspective is Alan Wake and what was happening while he was lost in this alternate reality that looks like a really dark version of New York. And in Saga Anderson has a gameplay feature where she has a case wall where you kind of map out her cases and kind of solve her cases like a puzzle, essentially. And Alan Wake, his special feature is called the Writer's Board, where everything he writes happens. And it changes the scene in front of you instantly. And there is the best gaming musical moment I've ever had in that game.
Musical?
Yes. So early on in the game, because since the game came out like 13 years after the original, they don't expect everyone to have played it, you know? So they're like, how can we recap the first game, still keep it weird, but make it interesting? And so they recap the first game through a rock opera that you actually play through while they have live footage of like the old gods of Asgard in their costumes and like a live actor playing Alan Wake just doing the interpretive dancing and like guitar solos and shit on like this back of the screen. And you're just playing a shooter level through this musical that's like giving you all the backstory you need to know for the rest of the game.
That's awesome.
Interesting.
And it is hilarious. And the climax of the game is you busting the old gods of Asgard out of a retirement home so they can throw a concert at the lake to bring this entity out of it so they can destroy it once and for all.
Amazing.
It is a great game. It is so much fun. And the horror elements are actually really scary. Like there's a couple times I was playing the game, I was like, I can't anymore. It's getting too under my skin. I gotta put it down. So like it has the creepy elements that it needs to be a successful horror game, but it's also goofy at points too. And besides that, I've just been reading the new Adam Nevill novel, which I'm blanking on the name of right now, so be 1 second. I think it's I thought it was All the Fiends of Hell, which comes out in April, and I'm talking to Adam Nevill about getting him on the podcast right now.
Nice.
But so far, the first 30 pages of this have been really good. I haven't got too far after that, but I was reading the description of it on Amazon because all I knew about it was an alien invasion story. So I was reading kind of like the plot description of like how it's being described, and this sounds like it's going to get a lot better too. I was reading the plot synopsis, and it's literally, seeing the morning is no blessing. The handful of scattered survivors are confronted by blood-red skies and an infestation of predatory horrors that never originated on Earth. An occupying force intent on erasing the remnants of animal life from the planet. Across the deserted landscapes of England, bereft of infrastructure and society, the overlooked can either hide or try to outrun the infernal haunting terrors, until a rumor emerges claiming that the sea may offer an escape. Ordinary, unexceptional, directionless Carl is one of the few who made it through the first night. In the company of 2 orphans, he flees south, but only into horrifying revelations and greater peril, where a transformed world and expanding race of ravening creatures await. Driven to the end of the country and himself, he must overcome alien and human malevolence and act in ways that were unthinkable mere days before.
That sounds awesome.
Mhm.
Adam Nevill writing alien horror. Let's go. I love Adam Nevill. He's one of the few authors to ever scare me.
Yeah. He can definitely build stuff and build visceral images, and so
and has the ability to hold nonstop tension across 100 pages.
Oh god. Yes. Was that bedroom scene in The Reddening?
Yeah.
Kept going, but was
Just
still
kept
like
going, but was like you couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
But like it was also like 100 pages long. And just wouldn't stop.
It was so long.
It was so long. But like honestly, I think it was a bit too long. But the fact you could pull attention across 100 pages was like, damn, you know?
Oh yeah, totally.
Was it maybe 50, either 50 or 100 pages? I forget. It was a lot.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
But that's really about it for me. But Matt, what about you?
Yeah. So wow. All right. Let's see. Because it has been a month or two. It's been a little while, so there's been quite a bit. But I'll just pick out highlights. I think the first highlight, real quick, is Coy Hall's the Hangman Feeds the Jackal. I read that at the beginning of this year. This is a sort of a weird Western. I would say it's more just like a horror Western where you have a character who is it's been a while, so I don't remember all the names, so you're gonna have to forgive me on this one. Basically, we have our desperado character, our cowboy character, who is insane. He talks to a spider and believes that this character called the Hangman, like he keeps trying to hunt him down and keeps thinking he finds him and keeps thinking this Hangman kind of changes into different humans. So sometimes it's a kid, sometimes it's an adult, sometimes, he never knows because he's crazy. And so this spider tells him, this spider that crawls around and talks to him, tells him that this Hangman is so-and-so. So you must go and hunt him down. So anyway, he comes across this small town and is trying to hide out there. But of course, this small town it's a mining town. The owner, some rich person that doesn't even live there anymore, but the rumors is that he buried a bunch of silver somewhere in this town. And so of course you got a bunch of you got these two crazy evil guys that are going to take over the town and try to find it. And so the only one that can help them is our crazy main character, who again I can't remember his name right now, and I apologize for that. But anyway, it's really good. I really did enjoy it, even though I keep saying I don't remember names. I did enjoy this book a lot. The horror elements are not. It's very light on the horror elements. It's mostly focused on just like dirty Western kind of like, spaghetti Western kind of ultra violent stuff like that. But I dug it a lot. It's definitely worth reading, and it's definitely worth checking out. There's some really good action scenes in this, and just it's really gritty, and it's fun to kind of be in a character's mind who you don't really know if some of these things that are happening are actually real. So definitely check that one out. I also read, and this one I'll just talk really short on, is MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios. This is nonfiction, just all about how how Marvel Studios started, and it goes all the way, kind of comes all the way up to this summer, but not so detailed into what's going on currently right now. But
any scandals?
Just a lot of interesting stuff. I think it talks a little bit about different.
Any reason why it's getting worse and worse?
Well,
or more fatigued.
I think there's multiple reasons for that from what I've gathered. First, I think what's fascinating is all the way up to almost like Infinity War, or right around when they started shooting Infinity War, they really didn't have as big a plan as we think they did. So like the whole stuff with Thanos showing up, say in Guardians, and showing up a little bit in the first Avengers, like in an end credit scene, that was all just like rando Easter eggs that they threw in just because they thought he was a cool character, whoever wrote it. So like Joss Whedon and then James Gunn and stuff like that. But like they weren't planning for this Infinity Gauntlet thing until like the very end, which you think is just fascinating, because watching it, not knowing that stuff before, you're like, oh man, they had this huge plan. And maybe that's part of the reason we got the fatigue, is now that they think that people think that they have a plan, that they now are trying to have a plan, and they don't know how to make the plan. So that might be part of it, is just that. The other part I would also say is we can, and I think we've blamed multiple reasons, and Joss Whedon is just a terrible person to begin with.
Yeah.
We can definitely blame him for all the comedy stuff and the way they are going that way, because they saw money in that, and they just thought that would be a good way to go. So
yeah, it's one way of having comedy, which is fine, because Marvel in general, like the comics, they don't take themselves too seriously.
Exactly.
But hamming it down on every single thing is not a good thing.
Yeah, and just like it's just all the buttons to every action scene having to have like some sort of joke and everything. So
yeah,
we could blame him on that a little bit. And then you can also blame Wentz, was it not Bob Iger, but the other guy that took over for like 5 minutes and then they got rid of him for Disney. Like he was a big pusher on getting out more content. So like once they started getting to that point, when they announced, even for Star Wars, when Disney announced like all the Star Wars projects and all the Marvel projects, that was just him. So not even Kevin Feige or anything like that. That was just him sort of announcing this stuff and forcing Kevin Feige and team to just say things that they had on a board, even if they weren't planning on doing that. So I think that's why we're currently seeing maybe just a little bit of a drawback, because they finally are kind of taking back what those plans were. So anyway, it's a fascinating book. There's some parts where you're like, you can just kind of blow through, because they do talk a lot about like the money, because obviously Marvel made a lot of money with these movies and stuff like that. And just like some of that stuff, you're kind of like, yeah, okay, I'll just brush past that because I'm not that big of an industry person. But I do dig just what the process was. And even like one thing I thought was cool and kind of sad just because of what we know, but like talking about like Black Panther and Chadwick Boseman and like how much he didn't tell anybody, and how much they loved him, and how much that Black Panther, that movie, like changed a lot of what they were future planning. Just like, you know, once, because they were filming Black Panther kind of at the same time as, I think, what, Endgame is the first one, or Infinity War. I can't remember which.
Endgame is the last one of the Avengers.
Okay, so Infinity War. So they were filming Black Panther and Infinity War at the same time, and so like that would so as they were filming at the same time, so like Chadwick Boseman and that whole crew would go to Infinity War and like help them kind of keep Wakanda the same, because again, they're not recording in the same spot, they're recording in different spots. So like they were in the book they were just talking about how like they were acting like as ambassadors to Wakanda as they were, you know, even behind the scenes, which is just fascinating and really cool to think about. But like that movie and seeing what they were doing, what Chadwick Boseman was doing, that had like Kevin Feige and team being like, okay, we got to do, you know, Black Panther is going to be our next big Captain America. So like, you know, what could have been is kind of sad to like think what we could have been getting now just because of what was going on. So it was really cool to kind of hear that and read that, and just it has a really nice section just about him and everything, and how well he acted with everybody, and how much he like fostered this kind of group. And so that was really cool to read. But anyway, it's a fun one. It's worth checking out if you're interested in that stuff, even if you're interested just in Hollywood stuff, because like those first 4 or 5 movies did solely run independent. So it was just like an independent studio doing all this stuff until Disney bought them up. And even kind of before that, it was tricky, like who actually owned Marvel Studios, just the way they were producing. Anyway, so that part's all fascinating. And even if you just like Marvel, there's a lot of background to who owned Marvel and like what their goals were, because it was a lot of just selling action figures. The comics and the cartoons and even the movies up until 2008 were all just there to sell toys. So anyway, that's fascinating. Real quick, Conan, I dived into Robert E. Howard's The Coming of Conan, was it the Cimmerian? I never know how you're supposed to pronounce that.
I don't know the pronunciation either. I think
don't
Cimmerian.
Cimmerian.
It doesn't matter.
Samaritan?
It's Conan. It's something. I don't know. Because you say Conan, but then it's CI, so it'd be I don't know. It's weird. But those are a blast. I'd never read Conan books before, or short stories, I should say. And I adored it. It's after a while, it gets a little tiring. I will say, you're seeing the age, you're seeing that time very much in that, where every woman is just absolutely enthralled with Conan and willing to do anything for Conan. What's fascinating in this collection is they talk a little bit about his beginning, Robert E. Howard's beginning, and coming up with these, and how he had this whole world in his head. You know, you think about like Tolkien and all these people, and he did it too. You know, he needed money. So at first these stories were, and you can tell because it's in published order, were really in depth and really had a lot of cool stuff in it. But then as it went on and he needed more money, he was just whipping these things out, and they were very much just lost, in my opinion, lost some quality and focused just more on like, what do, I don't know, teenage boys in the 1930s want to read, or what do men in 1930s want to read? They want to read about women being chained up and whipped with silk whips and stuff like that. So you're kind of like, it's entertaining.
I'm sorry, silk whips?
Oh yes, there's a whole thing. I think it's silk that were I don't even know.
Was that version of being softcore or something like that? Or
I'm guessing. Or again, it's like it's a man's opinion on what would work or what they could get away with. I have no idea.
Oh my god, what they could get away with?
But it's just so funny because like you read these first couple short stories, and I guess to tie it back to our podcast, there is a lot of horror stuff. I mean, it was I don't know the word, a contemporary of H.P. Lovecraft. The two did write letters back and forth to each other, and so there's a lot of that in this, especially in the earlier stories of this unknown cosmic evil that's always kind of haunting this land, and they all know it. And there's the evil priests that are praying and trying to bring it back, and then there's a giant snake. There's always a giant snake in all of these, but there's also just this otherworldly cosmic entity that people are following and using it to battle, and Conan somehow finds his way in the middle of it all. So all those beginning stories, you're just like, oh, this is cool. This is great cosmic stuff with a giant muscly barbarian man. But then, yeah, when you get to those later ones, it's exactly what I said. It kind of loses some of that cosmic horror touch and just focuses more on like this, I don't know, pirate queen that has never been satisfied, and then sees Conan and is just like mind blown and willing to give up her ship and her life and everything just to be with this muscly man that says very few words. So that stuff, I kind of near the end of this collection, I was just like, all right, let me just get through this because you lost some of your touch. But it's still fun to read and explore, and there's some neat stuff in there. So anyway, that one. Finally, because I know I've been talking a lot, Kyle Winkler, which I believe we're having on next week. I read Grass Hands by him. That just came out. This book is amazing. It's absurd and horror, and the concept of, and I won't spoil it because I know some people still need to read it, but moss growing on books, and if you eat the moss, you ingest the knowledge of that book, and like it kind of consumes you. There's a character at the beginning of the book that won't spoil anything, eats some moss that was on a knitting book, and as soon as he eats it, he instantly needs to knit, and he knits over and over and over and over again. So it's just this fascinating thing as this moss is taking over, and then the absurd parts are some of that. And then there's also a character that works at a library that keeps growing taller and taller. He's becoming a giant, and there's really no explanation for it, which hence the absurd. And it's just the way Kyle writes this. There's enough like little bits of humor in there that are a lot of fun. There's also lots of like kind of creepy body horror stuff as you get further and further in this story. And yeah, it's just awesome. I know it's very early in the year, but probably going to be one of my top books already. I'm putting it on my list. Definitely worth checking out. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome.
Nice.
Also great. Vitlame, what about you?
I actually finished one these limited documentary series on Netflix the other day. Like on Friday, I was like at home because I was suffering from a migraine. So the only thing I could do was just sit and watch in the gloom. And I had heard someone was talking about this documentary called American Nightmare.
Okay.
And I hadn't heard anything about it. I just heard that it was wild and people were a little bit shocked about it. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. The first episode, it was mind-boggling. It was so interesting. It's about this man. His name was, I think, Aaron Quinn. And in the middle of the day, he calls 911 and he says, hey, my girlfriend has been kidnapped. And the operator's like, what? What do you mean? And he's like, yeah, she's been kidnapped. I have no idea where she is, and I need help. And they sent the cops there, and it's so weird. Like his story was so weird. So basically, he just tells the cops that these kidnappers woke them up in the middle of the night and bound them both and put like goggles that had been blackened out over them both and just said, And I was like, "This is sorry. I'm sorry that this had to be done. It was you." And then he dresses the girlfriend like, "You weren't the intended target, but we'll have to take you nonetheless." And they drug him, like they drug them both, and then he gets instructions that if he contacts the cop, they're gonna do horrible things to the girlfriend. And they actually planted a camera in the room so they could monitor him.
Jeez.
And it was just such a weird story. And the cops were like, "What?" And they were like, "Dude, my dude, you killed your girlfriend. Like, what the fuck? We just need to find the corpse, and then we're done with you." And it basically, the only way I can explain this is that this, like, when I was watching it, it reminded me so much of Gone Girl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the whole plot of this just gave me such bad, like really, really, really like Gone Girl vibes. And it was funny because in the second episode, they actually say, like, "Yeah, this is really similar to Gone Girl. Like, what the fuck?" and the boyfriend was like, "But it's not. This is actually happening. This is my life. Like, Gone Girl was written in 2012. This is in 2015."
That is crazy.
And I'm not going to spoil anything what happens, but it was a wild ride. It was holy crap. I was like, this actually happened, and I went online and just Googled everything, and I was like, holy shit, this actually happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say that documentary is insane.
Yeah. Super insane. And it's funny, yeah, like they really, really discredited him because of the whole Gone Girl thing, because the movie had just gone into the movies shortly after this incident. So like the cops just basically had Gone Girl on their heads, like tunnel vision, and they just like, "This is it, and you're guilty for this."
Yeah, but didn't they know if they watched a movie that like there's more to it?
Yeah, but this is why I'm not gonna spoil. But this, like, for people who have seen Gone Girl, it kind of alludes to that, but at the same time, not really.
Huh.
Yeah.
What is this on?
Netflix.
Oh, okay. Did you say that and I just blanked?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there we go. Again, for listeners, if you blinked, Netflix.
Yeah, it's only 3 episodes. Like, it's just one of those limited documentary series, but yeah, it was really good, just mind-boggling, and it reaffirmed my lack of faith for the cops.
Fair.
It's like so bad, but yeah, finished that, and then I'm almost done listening to Hailey Piper's "Even the Worm Will Turn," the sequel to "The Worm and His Kings."
I need to read that.
How is it?
I have the book chilling on my bookshelf.
It's really good. It was nice going back into them because it's been such a long time since I read the first book. But it felt like immediately when I was listening to it, it felt like I hadn't missed anything at all. And it delves deeper into the cosmic horror thing. But for me, because I'm not that well adept at cosmic horror, that I can't find myself grasp that well at it. If you know what I mean, like you guys are probably more adept at reading a lot of cosmic horror. I haven't.
Yeah.
So, like all the things there is, like all the descriptions that Hailey really does a great job doing, doesn't fully grasp me, and that's just on me. That's just my lack of not reading as much cosmic horror. Other than that, the plot is really good. The story is really, really good. The characters, like you see, like the return of some of the characters from the first book, they come back, and there are also new characters as well. And just, like I said, I have 30 minutes left after of reading, of listening to it, and it's seemingly going down to be like the next book, because it's going to be a trilogy. I think Hailey mentioned that it's like leaning towards becoming like a huge fucking thing in the end.
That's amazing. Oh, that sounds super cool.
Mm-hmm. And I really got to get props to the narrator. I can't remember her name, but she's doing a really good job.
That's awesome. No, like I need to read that book because I love the first one. I thought the first one was fantastic.
Yeah, the first one was really good.
I was trying to remember it, and I was like, oh yeah, I really did enjoy that. So that would be really cool to kind of dig back into that world.
Mm-hmm.
I also think horror sequels don't do as good as their like original books.
It's
like,
hard
like,
to use. I speak from experience.
Get lost.
Yeah, I speak from experience. It's hard.
Yeah. Look, I'm reading. I mean, like, not to get too off topic, but like I've been reading the Nightmareland Chronicles by Daniel Barnett. I actually have. I'm going to start Lily soon, but like even those books, it's like the first one did great. Then even if you look at the reviews, there's like less and less reviews for each book after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, but they're so good.
Yeah. It's like horror, like people just don't associate horror with series.
Yeah.
They just want like a standalone thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which fair, but like there's so many good series out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny too. I don't know. It's so weird. It's an interesting topic to dig into because it is. It's if you think about like, I don't know. If you like movie wise, so many things have sequels and people dig all of them. And then even like book wise, if we look at like I'm trying like King is probably the biggest one with sequel stuff. So I don't know if it's just because it's his name that people will read all of those.
It's definitely his name.
It's definitely his name, but even his sequel stuff, like it's more just a tie-in here and there than like a full-on sequel.
Yeah, I know,
Unless
but
it's like Dark Tower.
Yeah, it's like Dark Tower, and then isn't there like a whole Mercedes series? I don't know. I haven't followed King very much.
Yeah, there's Mr. Mercedes series, and then there's some stuff after that.
Yeah, so he does his series too, and like I feel like I don't know. Didn't Kuntz do series? I don't know.
Yes,
I just feel
series.
I just think, and maybe that would be a fun topic to discuss in the future. Would be sequels and why. Like I don't know if it's just.
I'm definitely down for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be an interesting discussion.
Because like it feels like part of it, especially in I don't know, and maybe it's just this time, maybe it's just this age. Our attention spans are so short that we just jump into. We just want to keep reading the new thing, and like we don't think about following. And maybe it's hard. Like I don't know. Again, we can talk about that later. It's a fascinating topic, and I would love to kind of to explore it and understand like why, because it's like I like the idea of series. I mean, like you look at fantasy books and like you can it's fun to go back into that world. So I think if a horror thing is like, and even yours, Vitlame, I'm just thinking of like of your series.
Mm-hmm.
You built a world and so it's fun to go back into that world. So
yeah,
like I think it's a good it deserves a deeper dive to just understand like why some people aren't into that, where other spaces we can like have a million books, mystery books that have the same character in it and people are so invested. I don't know.
I definitely want an episode where we can discuss this, and maybe we can actually like get some authors to chip in.
Yeah.
Just like we can just like ask them on social media, like, what are your opinions on this, and then we can discuss it on the episode.
Yeah, and it'd be cool, like if we can grab some people who have written series or have multiple books in the world to understand like get their thoughts on it. I'm sure they'll have some good opinions too. But
I
agree. I digress. That's not what we're here for today.
But I do think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
But we are here to discuss this Tananarive Dew story.
Yes.
After an hour of not discussing it.
we're here, finally.
We're working there. It's a path. We're following the path.
Yeah,
so
I like it.
We're going to be talking about The Wishing Pool by Tananarive Dew, which was published in Uncanny Magazine issue 41. And you can read it online for free.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. Like right from the start, what I wanted to say, and I kept thinking about this, because this follows, the title is The Wishing Pool, so I'm sure if you haven't read it, you have some idea. on what this is leading to. But you know, it's your basic kind of, and I'm using basic, but I'm going to get into more detail in a second, but like basic kind of careful what you wish for story, where we have a pool and we have some characters that throw wishes into the pool, but it's that if you didn't word it right or didn't think about it right, you get that wish, but it comes obviously with a price. We've seen this before, but what I really liked in this one is she adds like a certain texture, like you can feel everything in this story, the good and the bad. Like you can feel these woods, and we'll explain it all in a second, but you can where this like pond / puddle / little hole with water in it, like you could feel all of that. You can feel this cabin, you can feel Joy, our main character, her sadness at seeing her father in this, basically dealing with Alzheimer's and losing his memories. And so that elevates it past your basic, oh, here we go, here's a careful what you wish for story.
But
so,
not only that, but also like with all the careful what you wish for trope, is that, you know, the characters that we're reading about, they usually have selfish wishes.
Yeah.
Where in this story with Tananarive's story, it's a whole selfless wish that the main protagonist wishes upon, but at the same time it still has the consequences of be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
So it adds that different kind of flavor to it.
Yeah.
If you want a story that's kind of similar to that aspect of Vite Leme, I'd also recommend another short story called What of This Goldfish Would You Wish by Edgar Carret. Which also another kind of like the person has selfish wishes, but it's also like a bit careful what you wish for kind of story. But very different from this one.
All right, you need to give me the link for that. I need to find it.
Will do. But no, this one I feel so. I've only read one book by Tananarive, which was The Good House, and I love that book a lot. I think it's a fantastic horror novel, one of my favorite haunted house novels, actually. I need to read more of her short fiction though, because the two I've read from her are just fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
there's so much heart in it.
Yeah,
there's tons of heart in it.
Yeah,
and you can really feel just the character like how the character feels about her father, the pain she's going through with watching her father succumb to dementia.
Yeah, and like it, and it's and it's awesome because you get like all this. So that's the basic idea is for listeners is there's that Joy is going back home because her dad is by himself, and her brother had spent the weekend before there and was like, we need help to determine like what we're going to do with dad. So you do one weekend here and tell me, we'll compare notes and we'll figure it out. So that's why you're here. And you know, it's modern day anyway. So this cabin is kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the woods, very dark, deep place by itself. And as we're kind of traveling this little distance to this cabin, we're kind of getting the past of when she used to live there. She had a friend. They would play in the woods because the woods were between the houses. And there was a wishing pool, little pond thing. I mean, it wasn't very big. And it was, as long as you didn't touch the water, but you threw something in there, you could make a wish and it would come true. First wish being a dog. And it shows up. The dog shows up, which I loved. But the dog disappears after a day, and they realize, at least Joy, the main character, is like, well, maybe we should have been more specific on our wish, which again kind of takes us into that wish thing. The genie, or like if you, I don't know, did you guys see that episode of What We Do in the Shadows with the genie?
Yes.
Yes.
And Nandor was wishing about the penis. They have such a detailed contract.
Yep.
This story isn't like that, but the idea is there. You know, the genie always, the wishing thing always has a price, so you gotta be very specific. So, because
I love that show so much.
because we get that again, because I think it's like what, the next summer, and Joey's friend, you know, they were kids, and now even just a summer difference, growing a little bit older, and the friend wishes like, I wish my parents got a divorce. I'm tired of them. I can't remember.
No.
The
She
word
said,
divorce?
She said, I wish they would split up.
There you go.
I was going to say split up.
Yeah. So, like we've said already, the contract, that didn't answer the exact question, because the dad died. So, anyway, you kind of have all this background stuff, and then it goes kind of back to present day, and that's when you're kind of seeing the dad is struggling. He can't remember everything. He can't remember his wife's name. You know, just all of this, and he's clearly sick. He's got breathing stuff. The house is a mess. It's cold. He's coughing a whole bunch. So you're stuck with that choice. If you know this wishing pool is there and you've seen it at least twice work, you know, do you make that wish and hope that he's better?
Yeah.
You
I
know,
had to think about that for a second. I was like, damn.
because I mean,
But,
that's
Yeah.
But I feel that's what makes the story interesting. And it's not what I'd really call like a horror story. Maybe like weird or fantastical.
Yeah.
Uncanny, I think might be a good one for this. But no, like I really like how it plays with that whole like be careful what you wish for trope. And like it's just how you say it is the most important thing. Like what you say.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it's really like watch like be the most careful with your verbiage, Matt.
yeah. Exactly. Oh man. But like what I like with this is it's a short story. I mean, Uncanny tells you it's like 4,000 words.
It's 4,000. Yeah, it's 4,100 maybe.
Something. It's not a lot of words.
4,102. I was off by 2.
What the heck? Those 2. But what she does is she doesn't. In a lot of the stories, that's the focus. The focus is the wishing part and what that leads to.
Yeah.
She doesn't spend a lot of time on that. It's like a paragraph or 2 for both. I mean, like a little bit longer for the dog, just to kind of really build up that, like, hey, they have this dog, it's magical. And then it's like a sentence that says, like, the dog is gone. Maybe a little bit more than that, but that idea of it's not a lot. And then even the parents splitting up, that's not a lot of time either. What we're spending most of the time on is building the relationship and what's going on with the dad, which I think is really important, because that's putting you as the reader with the question. You know the wishing pool is there. Joey knows the wishing pool is there. You know what the consequences are, but you're seeing this where he can't, you know, like I said, he can't remember his wife's name. He's got written down birth dates and names of his children. You know, it's the fire's not going, and it just, there's so much that we're spending time on to really hammer home, like, what would you do in this situation when you know there's a consequence to whatever you do. And I really like that, you know, in a lot of these stories, you're kind of like, yay, you know, magic wishes, and we spend half the time looking at what the magic wishes are, and then we get to the consequence to each one, and it's a big thing. But here she's like, no, I really want you to think about it. Like, if you're watching your father or a loved one deal with this, you know, like, what are you gonna do? And we see what happens.
Yeah, it is, and I feel it's a very realistic portrayal of just how people deal with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And what it drives people to do.
I also find it fascinating, and would like to talk about the fact that this pool keeps getting smaller.
Yeah, it's like, it kind of like feels like people have been using it too much.
Oh, okay. That's kind of what
I
you're
was going to
thinking.
say
I
what
like
Vic
that.
said. It's almost like the wishes are drying up.
Interesting. That's fascinating.
It's
I
either
like.
what
that it's either that or it dries up because no one is asking for wishes.
Yeah.
I like that too. Interesting. All right.
I thought it was the first one when I was reading it. I was like, is it drying up because of the wishes?
So a lot of people are using wishes.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
I like that. Okay.
Or there maybe just be a set amount of wishes and people have just been using it a little over time where now it's kind of drying up.
Okay. That I like those. Those are good. Like, yeah, I was trying to decide. I was kind of thinking about it more as her age and her getting bigger.
That is also really good.
That's also
concept.
interesting the way to think about it too.
Yeah.
Just because and you look at what each wish is, like, because they're little kids when they wish for a dog. So of course, as a little kid, your mind is thinking about wishes in a certain way, and then even when they get a little bit older and that splitting up, that's like more of a, I don't want to say it's an adult wish. I mean, it's still a kid wish, but that's a more grown up wish of thinking like this. I want to do it this way because of this, and then to have her be way older and have it be almost dried up. I don't know. I think it's fascinating. I like that she did that. That she had the wish. Having that pool get smaller is interesting. Could be like as you go, what you want gets smaller. I don't know, or like it gets more to the bigger, deeper stuff where like wishing for your father to be well or a loved one to be well is more of a honed and deeper wish than I want a dog.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But when you're a kid, you're only thinking of those like instant relief for instant gratification where it's like I want a dog now I'm going to wish on a dog. Where when you're an adult, you think a lot more deeply about these things.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's a good thing to look at. But then we get to the end, and it's like it's a heartbreaking but sweet. Like I don't know. It's a tough ending because you're on one hand she makes the wish. I guess we're spoiling it, but it's just such a short story. Just
Yeah.
Spoiler: we get Aaron. Wah, 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 wah. Spoiler.
you probably could have read it like 3 times by the time we got to this part. So
yeah, honestly,
True.
probably.
So it's fine. But her wish is just for her father to be healthy and happy, which is a good wish.
Especially when your loved ones get to that age and get dementia, it's definitely something that is the first thing on your mind.
So yeah, and that's I think the most important. But again, we know don't always get what you want. He is healthy and happy, but he does not remember her.
Yeah.
At all.
It's like for the price of being unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Or for being unknown, that is the price of a happy, healthy life.
Yes, and it's just it's funny.
It's hard. It is heartbreaking, but at the same time, I also understand the tears from the main character. Like I feel like these are both like tears of loss, but also tears of happiness.
Yeah, I'd say it's both loss and happiness because it's like she can't be recognized anymore, but she's happy that he's healthy and happy.
Yeah, it's like he has another second chance in life.
Exactly.
What more could you wish for?
Yeah, it's going to be heartbreaking. They're not going to remember you, so it's kind of still dementia, but he's not.
He's not suffering.
He's not suffering. He's not sitting there coughing and hacking and needing anything. He's out chopping wood, which was his favorite thing. We heard like he would always do that,
Yeah.
and so, that's that. Like, that's the challenge, and I think the question she wants to leave you with, or the thought she wants to leave you with, is like, it's a happy your person, your loved one is alive, but they're not going to remember you. I mean, maybe you can start all over, and that will be cool.
Yeah, but I mean, part of it
Mhm.
too is even with the dementia, like there comes a time with the dementia where they just also no longer remember that person either
Yeah,
because they can't see them as an adult; they can only see them as a child.
right. They
So
can just
like,
see him as
I feel
whatever
I
that
feel like
last
that
memory
was
is.
bound. I feel like the forgetting was bound to happen anyway. But I think part of her crying is her seeing him happy, but also I thought a part of her was hoping she'd get to have more time with him.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like he's healthy and happy, but the relationship is now gone. But that the
mhm.
relationship, in a sense, would kind of go away once he reached a point in his dementia where he forgot her to begin with.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
It's interesting to think about.
It is, and it like that that like last paragraph of just like he smiled. There's a little bit of recognition, but not enough for him to say that he knows her, and she's just picturing that that was a smile that he flashed when he first saw her mother, his wife, or the first time he saw her, out of the womb and everything like that. And it's like heartbreaking and so sweet at the same time to like kind of think about that thing and just have that and just be like, well, he's alive. It's yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah,
I'm glad you
I'm.
both enjoyed this.
She recently released like a short story collection with that story, right?
I
I think so.
Yeah, the
so
wishing pool and other stories, right?
Yes.
Right. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna check out her short story collection.
Have you
definitely.
checked out The Good House, by the way?
Haven't yet, no, but it's on my. Is it on my Kindle? I think it might be on my Kindle, yeah, or on
It
my
is.
or on my Audible.
It is very, very, very. Yeah, the way you pull in other stories, it looks like it's Amazon says temporarily out of stock on on its hardcover.
Makes sense.
So the hard looks like the hardcover might need a new printing, but it's on Kindle and the paperback comes out August 6th.
Nice.
So
But
there we
yeah,
go.
she did release one story last year, right? The Reformatory, right?
Yes, the Reformatory
Yeah,
Yeah.
came out last year,
yeah.
but I need to read more of her stuff because every time I read her stuff, I realize how much I love it, and then
Yeah.
I wait a while before I read her again, and I'm like, I should stop that. Like she's a really great writer. Her like the audiobook for The Good House like had my jaw on the floor for how good like a lot of that narration was and a lot of that book. Like I won't spoil anything for any of our listeners, but that's the one I recommend going to because that is a really great haunted house novel.
Yeah.
I need to check
But
it out.
Yeah, I haven't read
indeed,
it.
I
you
think
both
that's gonna
should.
be. I think that's gonna be my next listen, like audiobook wise, when I finish. Even the worm will turn.
Nice. I got a long ways to go with it, but I already have my next one picked out for after. But I will say, definitely check out this story, and if you just look up the Tananarive Do, there's a bunch of her works that are free to read online, and they're all great. Like everyone I've read of them, I haven't read all of them, but everyone I've read has been great. So I trust they're all fantastic. I'm sure they are.
There you go.
But next week we're going to have on Laurel Hightower and Kyle Winkler, and I believe we're going to be talking Grass Hands,
Yes.
and
Nice.
this would be a really good time. But Vitlame, where can listeners reach out to you?
I'm like getting. I found a loophole for my Instagram glitch. Like everything would glitch if I posted anything on my stories, but I found a loophole that if I put a little gif or like gif along with it, it doesn't glitch. So I've been getting more active on Instagram, like in
Nice.
that regards. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram with my handle fangs dot at dot and dot light, fangs and light, and I'm also kind of gradually coming back to Twitter, but I'm also gradually coming back to Blue Sky as well. So you'll find me at Vitamin on Twitter and as Vitamin Mist on Blue Sky.
Nice. And Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I've like completely like if ignored Blue Sky. I should get back on there. I don't know. There's a lot of social media, but mainly on Twitter. It's just a lot to think about. Mainly on Twitter at Brandenburg DM, and I guess I can say I have a website now. I think it's just my name, mattbrandenburg.com. I should look that up too. I just figured I should do that in case things blow up. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. And you can follow me on Blue Sky. Also, yeah, I say Blue Sky is the main place to follow me at. I'm making some social accounts for Abyss. So we'll get Abyss up and promoted on the socials again. But I'll announce that once it's ready. But this is Richard Gerlach saying keep staring.